Thank you very much, George. Pleasure to be with you here today, but of course you're not here to listen to me. You're here to listen to football royalty, that is Harry Kewell. Now, Harry, it's always difficult to know where to start with you because there is so much to discuss, but I want to start on Melbourne. You played for two A-League clubs, Melbourne Victory, Melbourne City. You're back here doing clinics in Melbourne and you're at the Football Federation Victoria luncheon. Why do you love the place so much?
On cue.
That must be a Sydney cider.
Yeah, the three Diegos, the fourth one just fell over.
Thank you. First and foremost, thanks for having me here. It's a real pleasure always to be in a company of people that love the sport that I love. So thank you. Look, players like me, players like Mark, Bresh and all that, we all start somewhere, and you know, it's you guys that help this situation become a reality for people like me. So again, well done for that. To answer your question about why Melbourne, look, it's a great place. It's the heart of sport in Australia. Even though we have this kind of rivalry between Sydney and Melbourne, I fell in love with the place straight away when I arrived here, and starting my career my A-League career with Melbourne Victory. You know, the fans, the city, the people, you know, took care of me straight away. But they also took care of my family, and that's a big thing for me, is my family. So, you know, when I get that respect, I like to pay respect back. And then, you know, I had to go back for family reasons, and then the opportunity was to come back again. I did have offers from other clubs, but because I love Melbourne that much, I couldn't say no to it. And plus, it does the best coffee in the world.
Very good. I'm going to have to borrow your microphone for a second. Now, coaching or playing, Harry, what comes more naturally?
Good question. I would love to say football, but I have to say coaching. It's something that has, I don't know, I love football, don't get me wrong, and I love playing it, but coaching, and I've only been in it for a year at the under-21s level, but I absolutely love it. I actually love it more than I actually played. I still get involved, especially with my 21s when they need an extra player, so I still try to razzle, but you know, I know my limitations now, so I usually pick the best team. But no, I think I don't know, it's just something there that I love coaching. And even now I'm here with my academy, teaching the young kids. Doesn't matter whether they're fantastic or not, I just love teaching them. And then you get that sense of pride when you actually get a young kid to actually do what you've asked. And that's what I love.
Now, Harry, you're at Watford under-21s. It was your first season, so it's basically the reserves team over there, and they've had a fantastic season in the Premier League. How is that going? And give us a typical day and week in the life of Harry. Now, imagine you probably don't get as much time to play golf as what you used to.
No, I don't. I used to play golf near enough every day when I was young, which was fantastic. But no, it's a 24/7 job. My first couple of weeks in coaching blew my head off. It was amazing. I mean, I was going home with headaches because I didn't realise how much information I had to take in. Because as a footballer, you only think about yourself and you only worry about your own personal well-being. You go, you turn up and you train, you go back, you eat, and that's it, you rest up. Now as a coach, you've got to worry about 18 prima donnas. You know, you've got to make sure that they're all well. You've got to make sure the physio's right. You've got to understand what's going on with players. You've got to speak to the fitness guys to see what's happening. You know, then you've got to make sure everything's ready, prepared for them. Make sure there's food on the bus as well. I've forgotten that a few times. But no, there's so many things that you have to understand about being a coach. And I get asked, you know, do you have more respect for your coaches and physios? And I always had respect for my coaches and all that. And I used to always joke around with the fitness guys and all that. But I can see it now that the players, you know, they're taking the mick and all that. And I stick by my staff because I remember with Benitez, and I had problems with certain staff at a certain, well, I can't say certain because I said Benitez, so it was Liverpool. So I had problems with staff there, and I remember Benitez going to me, he goes, look, I feel your pain, I understand what you're going through, but I have to stick by my staff. And I can see that. And, you know, it is a team game. You can't do it all on your own, and you need to have a strong team behind you. And I do have a good team behind me at Watford.
What you just touched on, was that specifically relating to the Champions League final of 2005, or was it, were there other moments?
I think it was the whole period at Liverpool, which was a shame. Like I said, I had a chance to play for my boyhood club, you know, and I did. And I had, the first 6 months was phenomenal. I mean, I come from a massive club as well, Leeds, where everything was perfect. I kind of, again, not sounding big-headed, but ran the club because you were an important player, and you kind of had everything. And we had the top of the tree of everything, you know, through food, through fitness guys, but especially medical system. Our physios were spot on. A little bit different when you went to Liverpool, just on the medical side. And, you know, with me, I believe in football, everyone's different. I think we kind of think footballers, or what's good for one is good for everyone else, and it's not. It's very individual, and you need to know that, especially treating players. And at Leeds, they understood that, and at Liverpool, they didn't. But again, you know, I'm not going to sit up here and cry over spilt milk. You know, I'm sure there's plenty of players out there that have gone through injuries, and we've got to know how to deal with them.
Take us back to the moment you did sign for Liverpool, because it was around the time you scored against England. I was over there, and you were in absolute red-hot form. The world was after you, basically. I remember Manchester United, Barcelona, AC Milan were among the clubs that were linked to you. Why did you choose Liverpool, and how close were you to perhaps joining one of the other clubs?
Because they gave me the most money. No, joke. It's not all about money. No, I did get offers, and I sat down with a lot of clubs. And as much as I love Liverpool, you know, one of my other favourite clubs in the world is AC Milan. And I remember going over to Milan and sitting down with the president and speaking terms and speaking everything. But
Berlusconi?
I think it was. It was an interesting time. It was at that stage where AC had about 17 foreigners, and they had to get rid of a few. And the one player that they were looking to kind of move on was Rui Costa. But he ended up staying here. I think he ended up having a wonderful season that year anyway. So I didn't sign for them. So it was always between AC and Liverpool. For me, I mean, I was lucky enough. I got to have breakfast with Arsene Wenger, which was nice. And you sit there.
Who paid?
It was actually at David Dean's house.
Okay.
So that was nice to sit. And obviously the other reason why I signed for Liverpool, I mean, if you ever hear a Frenchman speak, you know, you do fall in love with the language. And when you hear him speak about football, it is phenomenal. And when you hear Gerrard and Arsene Wenger talk about football, you do get mesmerised. And, you know, that was a big thing for me. So speaking to Gerrard, it was the only option then, once I spoke to him, because the way he wanted to play, the way he saw me fit into his team, it was the only option for me to go and sign. And especially because, like I said, it was a boyhood club of mine that I wanted to play for. That was the reason why I ended up signing.
And before too long, you were playing in a Champions League final, and you won 25th of May 2005 in Istanbul. It was a crazy night in so many ways. The team sheet come out, Harry Kewell's there, you're off after 23 minutes, you still ended up winning. There was so much conjecture around what happened to you. Talk us through that night in the eyes of Harry Kewell.
It's tough, because people sit up here and they go, "Oh, you won a Champions League medal." You know, and I believe it's the biggest medal that any Australian can win. I mean, unless you win a World Cup. I mean, they're the only two biggest medals that you could win. I think for an Australian, a professional footballer can win. So I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for my team, because it is a team game. You can't do it individually. So I'm thankful for my team to be able to win that league. But on a personal note, you know, you train your whole life to play in the biggest matches of your career. And so I started when I was 4 years old, and by the time I was it 26 or 27, I played in it. You know, that's my moment. You know, when you look at 100 meters, they train their whole life for that gold medal in the 100 meters, and you know, when you see that sprinter pull up with a hamstring, you can see he's disappointed because he's trained his whole life for that. So I've trained my whole life for this, and the whole year building up to that was difficult because I was going through problems with my groin, and it just wasn't feeling right. But as a footballer, you go across that white line, you declare yourself 100% fit, and you work. So going up to the thing, I was in and out the squad, and I remember walking on the day of the game, and Benitez pulled me aside, and I was just walking out the back, and I was walking with Jibril Cisse. We were just laughing and joking around, and he pulled me aside. Harry, come here. So I come over to him. What's he want? Okay. I didn't think I was going to start, by the way, because of the way that the team was playing the previous games and all that. And he pulled me and said, look, you're going to start tonight. So I said, all right, great. You know, it didn't affect me. I wasn't scared. I wasn't nervous. I was like, oh, great. You know, I've worked hard in training, so I have a fair chance like anyone else. So he said, yep, perfect. He told me what he wanted me to do, fantastic. So I went out there, warm up, everything was great. You know, I could still feel my groin, but again, adrenaline kicks in. You're ready to go. Game kicks off, you're playing, bang, you go 1-0 down. Not great, you know, and you're sitting there going, oh, okay. But I actually feel in that first 19, 23 minutes, I can't remember, I actually felt I was playing all right. I know I could sense there was nerves in the team, but I actually felt okay. We went 2-0 down, and I think, oh, okay, we've really got to get back up into it. And we started to get a little bit of grip of the game, and then there was a challenge that me and Gattuso went into. It was just a normal challenge, and I went with it 50-50, and then as soon as I went into it, my groin just snapped. And when I say snapped, I mean just ripped off the bone. And all I could see is when I looked down, just half my groin muscle was just dangling down, halfway down my leg. And I just said, yeah, that's going to be no good. So again, adrenaline pumping, and I'm sure there's athletes in here that, you know, you try to push on. But then you've got to be truthful to not only yourself but your teammates, and you just got to say, you know, running in a straight line, it's actually fine. If you've ever done your groin muscle, straight line running's fine. But when you want to start twisting, turning, kicking ball, it's impossible. So, you know, I put my hand up and came off, and Benitez knew it. He saw the reaction in my eyes, and then again, you know, I spent the rest of the time in the changing room until that remarkable comeback. And again, I always say to young kids as well, individuals may win games, but teams win competitions and cups. So for everyone that thinks they can do it on their own, you can't. You need a team behind you.
And were you supposed to take the first penalty that night in the event of a shootout?
I was supposed to take penalties all up. You know, he gave me that responsibility, which, you know, but again, it's a funny story because it's not the first time it's happened to me in a final where I've come off injured. But you know, this is how good Benitez, what he made me feel happy, even though I think it was bad because I got injured all the time in finals. But he said, I'm his lucky charm. As soon as I got injured in a final, we usually won. So he always started me and hoped I got injured because he knew he'd win. And I was like, oh, cheers for that. You've got to make sacrifices as well.
Yeah, cheers, Rafa. Now, it's about 19 years ago that, or 20 years ago, you announced yourself on the just down the road at the MCG. Hands up who was in the stadium that night, by the way. Very good. Now, extraordinary, obviously, a young Harry Kewell scoring a goal. Again, another bizarre night. What are your memories of that night?
I mean, till this day, that's one of my best nights playing football. You know, to be able to walk out at such a young age, MCG field is phenomenal. You know, it is one of the greatest stadiums in the world, and you know, for everything to go on so well, you know, and to fall apart in the last couple of minutes, you know, it's a thing that I still talk to my players about. You know, football lasts for 93 minutes. You know, everyone thinks, oh, it's 90 minutes. No, it's 93 minutes. You have to concentrate for that period. And we fell asleep. You know, we fell asleep. It gave a chance for Iran to kind of get back to each other and the manager to have a few final words. And I suppose we thought we were there. And it just goes to show, you know, I read an article today, and it only takes a second to score a goal. And Iran did that to us and knocked us out.
Yeah, it was a bizarre night, but it did make 2006 and subsequent World Cups all the sweeter. Now, it was just a couple of years before that you joined Leeds United, and a lot of people in this room involved with clubs with young talent and parents and whatnot who, I guess, are deliberating as to whether they stick with the Australian pathway or go overseas to pursue their professional dreams. Why did you choose to go to Leeds United? What were the influences on you at the age of 15?
Well, I had a strong family behind me, and they knew that nothing was going to stand in my way. It's as simple as that. So as soon as Leeds actually offered me a contract, I was gone. And
Brett Emerton was on trial with you as well, wasn't he?
Yes, Brett had the opportunity as well to sign. And it's interesting because eventually Brett got there in the end, but he did it a different route. So it's actually a nice, not a bad little platform. You know, if everyone thinks that you must go over to Europe, you know, if parents come to me and go, "Oh, what's the best thing for my kid?" I'd be probably saying, "Well, if you want to play at the highest level, get yourself over there, you know, and start learning what it's like to play at the highest level." Whereas Brett came back, played in the National League, and worked his way up from there and still got his opportunities. So there's opportunities both ways. It's just what path you decide. And it's up to, obviously, ultimately it's up to the player, what he wants. But for me, there was no question. I was going to go over there straight away and mix it with the best.
So what's your advice to officials, parents who are, you know, who have similar situations? You did have a UK passport.
No. I'm just trying to put it into, because me, not that I'm different, but football's my life, you know. And as much as like I've been married for 15 years, I've got 4 kids, and I love my family, but the sacrifice I make every day, you know, I'm away from my family, and they understand that. Now, if you were to turn around and tell me, right, my oldest is turning 15, is he going to go to Australia and work? You know, what would I be like? I'd be like, yeah, go. But my wife may be different, you know. So again, I think it's going to be a family decision, but ultimately, I think it's going to come down to the player, what he wants.
Now, we spoke a lot about Liverpool, but Leeds United, from a club point of view, is where you first came on the scene, and so many great memories for many of us. Mark Viduka was obviously there, and you guys came so close to winning the title and playing in the Champions League. What were your memories of playing for that club?
Phenomenal. To be able to be a part of a team that was reckless, tough, stood no crap from anyone. I mean, we actually didn't stand no crap between ourselves. And people always ask, what was the spirit like in that Leeds United team? If there wasn't a fight at least once a week, and we're not talking like little push and a shove, we're talking actual fight, it just wasn't a normal week for us at Leeds, because it showed how much passion we had for each other. We respected each other. But
who was involved in most of them?
Who do you think?
Yeah,
Alan,
Smith.
Lee, Harty,
David
Viduk's had a few.
Yeah.
Oliver DeCourt, David Batty, Ian Hart, Eric Backer, Jacob Burns, Danny Mills, Woody. You know, virtually nearly every. I think I was the only one. I kind of stood back.
You were a good boy, weren't you, Harry?
That's why. Look, the face. Stood away from it all. But no, and people go, oh, you know, what was that like? But it just meant that we had each other's back when it came to the weekend's game, where we went out there on the weekend and we knew that we'd fight amongst ourselves, but then when someone came to challenge us as a group, we knew we had each other's back. And if teams tried to pass us off the park, they had no chance, because we could all play. If teams came to try to bully us, they had no chance, because, you know, we were ready. We were ready for that fight. So I think that's the reason why we had such a great atmosphere at that club. And, you know, as well, you know, you talk a lot about team buses, and you probably go on a team bus now and everyone's got their headphones in and, you know, listen to their music or talking to people outside of it. Whereas Leeds, that team, even though the big mobile phones were involved, But everyone was talking to each other. Everyone knew everything about each other. You know, we communicated. And I think that's a big thing as well.
Georgie mentioned the Hotspurs earlier on, Smithfield. Take us back to your junior days, grassroots. Young Harry Kewell, 4, 5, 6 years old, running around.
That was about it, really. No, just, again, I love the sport from a very young age. I kind of followed it because I've got an older brother and he played. So I was always challenging him, you know, always trying to beat him because you know what younger brothers like, always trying to beat their older brother and always get knocked down. So I think that kind of made me stronger. But again, just all I can remember is just every time I had a chance, I had a football at my feet, always wanted to play the game. And again, I suppose I just had this ambition that I wanted to go out there and, you know, make a career out of it. I mean, I have a wonderful job. I've had a wonderful job, and now I'm embarking on another wonderful job. And I always remember when I was at Leeds, I had a coach say to me, and he had flogged us. You know, we were knackered, we were lying on the floor, and you know, a couple of people were moaning. And he turned around and said, "Where would you rather be? You know, stuck in an office all day, you know, in front of a computer, you know, not getting out in the sun or anything like that, or laying on a nice bit of grass, clear skies, you know, sunshine, what would you rather for a little bit of pain?" And ever since then, I kind of looked and I said, yeah, he's right. You know, I do live a wonderful life, but it's hard work. I mean, if people think football's not easy, they're far from it. It's wrong. It's one of the hardest sports ever because you're constantly pushing yourself if you want to be the best. I mean, I suppose that's probably in every sport, but I can only talk about football. It's a competition where every single person wants to be one.
I couldn't pitch you in an office. No offence.
Me either.
Now, just a few quick-fire ones in terms of memories. Uruguay qualifying for the 2005 World Cup, particularly the second leg in Sydney. Memories of that night?
Again, unbelievable. You know, to be able to play for your country is a privilege. And the only reason you play for your country is to play well for your club. So, you know, every time you play for Australia, you want to go out there and impress because you're not only playing for your team, but you're playing for the nation as well, because everyone's come out to support you. And obviously, from 98 to 2002, there was a kind of little hex on us. And, you know, we all didn't at the time understand Hiddings' plans, but to this day, he was a genius. And for me, he's probably one of the best managers, man managers, that I've ever worked for, and I'd love to work with, because I think he knows how to tick all the right boxes, especially in football. But again, that night, the only thing that helped us was obviously the fans as well, because they pushed us to that level where, you know, sometimes you do need to be pushed, you know, beyond what you're already pushing yourself.
The impact you and Josip Skoko had coming off the bench. Josip at the back of the room as well this afternoon. 7 months later, Croatia, 15 minutes to go, you're out of the World Cup. Harry Kewell equalises to send the Socceroos through.
Technically, we won that game 3-2.
You tell him.
Technically, right, one of the players got sent off. So even though, and again, it just goes to show what a great team sport we had in Australia, we still kind of talk amongst ourselves, we actually won that game. Everyone talks about the 3-2, oh no, the 2-2, and, you know, I sent them through. Well, no, we worked hard enough as a team to win that game. And for me, in my eyes, we won that game 3-2 clearly.
Yeah, it was right at the end, wasn't it? John Aloisi and Graham Poll just
and actually, Graham Poll is one of the nicest people as a referee. So he was good. But no, on that night, you know, we got off to a bit of a bad start. But again, it just goes to show what Aussie spirit's all about. And we fought back. And you know, there's a kind of a saying in football. You know, if you're going to concede in the first 2-3 minutes, because then you've got to really go for it.
And favourite Socceroos memory? Is it one of those, or?
Of course, it's got to be up there. But then, you know, you talk about your debut. You know, you talk about, you know, getting to the World Cup. You know, you talk about beating England. You know, you talk about beating Germany. They've never beaten. You know, Germany have never been beaten. You know, you talk about getting. Well, for me, which, you know, it's great that we set a benchmark. But you know, playing in the final of the Asian Cup, that was a highlight. So for me, all these kind of things are highlights for me.
And any regrets?
plenty of regrets. You know, you'd love to be able to go back in time, and I'm sure every single person would love to be able to change things in their life. But again, I think you always learn by your mistakes. And I think if you went through life without making mistakes, it'd be pretty boring.
I would have thought so. Now, wind it up, but you've got your clinics here in Melbourne, and I'll persist. We've got another one tomorrow, I believe. Helen in If anyone's interested, Helen, come and see the beautiful Helen. And I'll finish up with this one. Thanks, Harry. Always a pleasure to share a microphone with you. Just on the clinics and your coaching, you enjoying it?
Like I said, I absolutely love it. And the clinics that I'm doing at the moment, you know, I think that the kids turn up and they think they're just going to have a nice little run around the park. You know, they think, oh, nice little kick about, eh? And, you know, a little pass around. But no, it's actually the sessions I take from under 21s. And, you know, I expect them to learn something about the game. You know, they're not there to just take the photo and, you know, smile and have a little kick about, but I want them to take away something. And it's not for me to kind of, you know, take away from what they're learning from their club, but hopefully they can bring something back into their club and say, well, hang on a sec, this is what I learned here, you know, what about this? So again, so they're out there, and I push them hard. You know, I believe hard work wins at the end of the day. You know, it's that old saying, you know, talent won't work if, I forgot it now. Anyway, don't matter.
We know what you mean.
Thank you. But no, it's about them taking something away from my academy, and if I can teach them that, then hopefully they can, you know, progress. And if I do come back in the academy, they come back, and if I can see if they have progressed.
Fantastic. Now, I'd like to call up the FFE President, Kim Onteliadoris, to present Harry with a commemorative award for his outstanding contribution to football, and also welcome him as an honorary member to Community and Business. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Harry Kewell.